All right, welcome to another episode of Getting Real in the Field. And this is the show that talks about all the things that you hate to do, which is following up, making phone calls, talking to your past clients, setting up customer appreciation parties, and all of the busy work that doesn't actually put extra money in your pocket with your host, Kekte and JP Fluwell.
We're back.
We are back in action. Thank you. Thank you for joining. And so I think it was kind of a, it's a big deal right now going on in the news. Oh yeah, that crowd just really wants to continue to is the interest rates right now. Is the interest rates right now. It's like the Fed is like, apparently they're raising the interest rate the first time in 3 years, and they've got 6 more planned, I guess, for 2022. So what kind of impact is this going to have on the real estate market, Keck?
Well, that's a great question, man. So yeah, no, there is the news that came out tonight. Today, actually, the Federal Reserve is like raising a quarter of a point up, a quarter of percent up to today. And so reading into this and one of the things that I actually tend to look at the financial numbers in my previous life. So, and to hear that there's 6 more projected increase within this year to try and control inflation, that's going to be interesting to say the least. I would love to hear your thoughts, but I'll kind of paint the picture a little bit too. I've seen in the past, and what I'm hearing and reading as well too, is like really there's going to be increase in the interest rates that will translate to more cost in your home payments. That will translate also into more costs in lending for businesses. So that's going to translate to higher costs in some of the groceries, stuff that we buy in general as well too, right? And so this is be super interesting to try to watch how the business changes and turns over the next or in this coming year, actually. What we see over the next coming months, we've been talking about this, some of like the predictions as interest rates go up. How's that going to change it from a seller's market now to slowly maybe cooling it off, I would say. And I would love to hear your thoughts, JP. Like I definitely see some cooling off. Remember 3 months ago, we were doing a prediction?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to compare the notes on what we talked about.
I know this is going to be interesting for sure. I think that because we have such a tight market when it comes to availability and inventory, I think that a lot of buyers are still going to continue to push through. Because if interest rates are still, below 6%, the money's still basically free. I understand that, the impact of 1%. I understand the impact of, the change in the market, but that's just because we got muscle memory. We got spoiled.
Yes.
And, so that's not just generally an indicator of that housing's no longer affordable, right? Because it's all about like looking at what can I afford in my payment rather than getting so hyper focused on the rate. And that's where, it's just really going to come down to, instead of seeing, the first offer being 20 or to 50,000 over, I've seen in some places 100,000 over asking. And,
I hear something crazy?
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, I was talking to an agent. I read it on news as I couldn't, my mouth dropped. But in my neighborhood, there's been 3 instances where it's $1 million over asking.
So again, going back to the rate, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's really irrelevant as long as there's going to be these migration patterns and that people are still feeling that they need to take, a physical responsibility for where they live and they're tired of the normal rhetoric and the lack of, or the lack thereof of physical governmental responsibilities. You're still going to start seeing these migration patterns, and I think even more so the unintended consequence, I think, of changing the rates is going to force people to make some very drastic decisions and be like, you know what, I am out. Like that just pushed me over the edge. I'm out. We're moving to the Midwest. We're moving to we're moving to Idaho. We're moving to Wyoming. We're moving inward, and back in the day, it used to be go west, young man, and now it's go middle, young man,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so you're going to start seeing a lot of the smaller, populated states are going to start even growing even more, I think, because now that when they were thinking about, we could stay one more year, we could do another 5 years or whatever, they're just going to be like, you know what? Nope, it's time to move.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So along with that, like I said, we're going to see is less multiple offers, but I don't see the impact being as severe as if it was going to go from 3% to 15% interest. It's just
for sure,
just insane.
For sure. Yeah.
So I still think that there's still a lot of, like, even last year and even in 2020 we saw a lot of buyers with cash, and it's funny because it was like before 2020 I was like, where's all this cash coming from?
Yeah.
And I think it's literally that people have no faith in the banking system and they're sitting on cash.
Yeah.
And so they're depositing money. They're liquidating things they don't need because they realize that, the fundamental things that we need as human beings, which is food, clothing, and shelter, are starting to become even more important. And I know that there's, even now I've heard there's a big prepper movement where people are just like,
really,
like buying the boxed food, and all of that stuff that we're good for 30 days, and so I see that happening. I see a lot of camping gear getting purchased more because of the affordable housing issues. So, the camping places, there's the new ones are hard to come by, but the used market is still pretty huge. And I think the campgrounds, if a person can open up a campground, I think there's huge opportunity, from an investment standpoint.
That's interesting.
Campgrounds, because progress is going to happen. Prices are going to continue to go up. You're going to see that in 2022 at least.
Probably not as fast, though. I would say
not
right?
I wouldn't say as fast, but I think nationally, if somebody's listening to this and can fact check this, but I think we're still at like 7% year over year right now.
Wow.
Still.
Yeah, I think that's
national.
about right. Yeah.
So, which is insane. I mean, it used to be like 1.5% to 3% was kind of the constant, and so at 7%, I mean, we've seen people that have owned houses for less than a year making like $50,000-$60,000 on their homes.
Yeah.
It's just insane for a little town up in Wyoming.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the driving force, and I think just a lot of buyers that we're going to get into the market are just going to not jump into the market. So
I would say, as an agent, I would say that, advise your clients, if they're thinking of selling, sell it now. Don't sit on the don't sit on it for too much longer, because you're going to start, you're starting to you will start seeing the shift to the buyer's market soon. It won't be a complete buyer's market, but how about this? It'll be more even. It won't be in the seller's interest anymore.
We'll see. I'm listing a house here pretty quick. We'll see
if
you get multiple offers.
Yeah,
we're still low inventory up here. We used to operate right around 400 listings, and we're less than 100 right now.
Jeez. Okay. And then for buyers, I would encourage your clients to start looking now, because it's only go up, and soon they, if they can barely afford it, they won't afford it if it keeps going up. Now, my prediction, if there's going to be like all these increases that we're talking about, I think that we can expect maybe 1.5% to maybe up to 2% over this by end of the year. That's my prediction, by the way. Because each increase has been about 0.25 on average, typically. So, and 0.2 to 0.25. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. But I would definitely move with urgency with your clients who are in the hunt right now. I wouldn't freak out, but I would definitely be like trying to get the clients moving and getting them to find a house as soon as possible.
Yep, my prediction is the sub 3% interest rates are over, my friends. So
Get going
right now, because I have a buddy right now that is buying new construction, and he lost his interest rate, obviously due to delays with COVID and supply chain issues and all this kind of stuff. And so he can't lock anymore. He reached his locking extension limit.
Yeah.
And now, the interest rate change is $400 a month. I mean, obviously he's buying a pretty sweet house, but it's, that interest rate is $400 a month. So, yeah. I mean, if it changes another point, I mean, he's going to go up almost $1,000 a month in his payment. So
yeah,
get in now. What? I mean, this is not doom and gloom, but home ownership is definitely a privilege, not a right. And yes. And so, if you want to make it as lucrative as possible, get in now, especially with this 7% year over year. Like they used to say that, home ownership was not a asset, it was a liability. But I think with those kinds of gains, I mean, you can't argue with the gains. I mean, especially if you do your research and find a location where the market's been pretty stable going back to 2008, places like Cheyenne, Wyoming, that had very little to no impact after 2008. And so do your research, find a great place to invest in. And I think that'll be a wrap on this one.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode and found it interesting.
Awesome. Well, if you guys want to get a hold of us, Keck, how can we get a hold of you? Find out what's going on in your world?
If you want to learn more about Fieldnotes and how we can help you kind of get more leads and get the word out, to kind of help your clients find more homes now and get them moving, reach out to us, fieldnotes.ai, or you can personally call me as well too, 425-740-0260.
Awesome. And if you guys want to know what's going on in my world over at the Titan Real Estate team at Real, you can get a hold of me at 307-772-1184, or you can Google the JP Fluellen in the Google machine, because I'm the only one. So if you can't find me, look for the beard and the glasses, and you will find this beautiful face floating around. Just hit images, and then you'll find me. I'm everywhere.
Can I Bing you?
You can. Ooh, I haven't checked if I'm Bingable.
Or how about Yahoo you?
Or Yahoo. Yeah, you could go to ask.com and find me there. Or you can DuckDuckGo me. Or you can go to what's that new one now? Brave. You can Brave me.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Brave is the browser where they can't track you.
That's DuckDuckGo, man.
Brave's a new one now, but they can't track you now. So.
And one last thing, if you guys are interested, private message me or comment on below. I'll send you an article from the Federal Reserve that talks about the interest rates going up this year and what the impact. Super interesting, but technical article. Yes. So good night, night's reading. How about that?
Yes, good night reading. Oh, and one other thing too is if you guys have a team or a brokerage of 50 agents or more, reach out to Keck and he can talk to you about getting Fieldnotes for free. All right. Well, on that note, that's another episode of Getting Real in the Field. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.